How did Sophie Marr, one of the fastest sprinters in the Pro Velo Super League, win the Tour of Tasmania, the most difficult tour in the league, with a summit finish up a 16-kilometre mountain? Welcome back to the Homegrown Advantage, where we break down and analyse domestic racing here in Australia. I need you to know how impressive it was to see Sophie win this tour. This was an elite performance. I was down in Tasmania. I've spent hours going back, pulling apart how she managed to do it, because I couldn't believe what I was seeing when I was standing up the top of the Golden Valley climb in the mist. I thought the altitude was making me hallucinate. Coming into this tour, Marr's teammate Talia Appleton, she was the league leader, and she looked to have a stranglehold on the overall title after only 2 of 6 rounds. Appleton, she's an excellent GC rider. She's got a very strong climbing ability, strong time trial. Don't forget, she won the SA Kick-It overall off the back of her excellent performance on the Wollonga Hill time trial. She was most people's red-hot favourite to win this tour overall and extend her lead in the league overall standings. So how on earth did her Praties teammate, who nobody picked to win the GC, come out as the winner here and also step into the league lead? Let's take a look. So the Tour of Tasmania this year had 4 stages across 3 days. We had a crit, a very tough rolling road race, a flat 4-kilometre time trial, and then we had the mountain stage up the Golden Valley climb to Tasmania's Central Plateau. Marr was one of the 2 big favourites for the crit, and she performed really well here. We saw Talia Appleton fighting for the intermediate sprints, I assume because she thought there were bonus seconds on offer, as there were in the SA Kick-It, but buried down in the tech guide actually was a little asterisk saying there were only bonuses for finish line places. So there's a bit of wasted energy there from Talia, but either way, it showed a clear intent from her that she really wanted to try and win the overall classification, and she was trying to get on it early here. Coming into the sprint, Sophie Marr, she'd also been quite active. She was helping Talia Appleton to get those bonus seconds, and she was sort of contesting a couple of them herself. That might have sapped the legs a little bit. She actually took second here behind Keely Bennett, who we didn't really see much of the entire Criterium, which is pretty much exactly what you want from a sprinter in this sort of event. So really well done by Keely Bennett and the Meridian Blue team. They took stage 1. Crucially, as I was saying before, there are bonus seconds for the GC for finish line places. So Marr, she took second, 6 bonus seconds there. Ali Anderson from the Butterfield Zip Track team, she took third. Going into the road race the following day, both Marr and Bennett managed to get over the Union Bridge climb, 2.9 Ks at 9.8%. It has pitches up to 18%. You know, getting over this climb as a sprinter, that's much more easily said than done. So really impressive for them to get over in the front. And then aside from this climb as well, this was a really tough stage. We saw some crosswind action as well briefly over the top of the climb, and they're really leaning on it. You can see Riley Ackroyd here. She swings out of the gutter and goes, nope, you can close that one, Caitlin. Again, Appleton here, she's wearing the green league leaders jersey. She's the aggressor. I don't know if she's really acting in the best interests of her team. You can see her teammate Frankie Hall behind. She's scrambling to hold the wheel. The riders that she's with are really big threats as well when she creates this front selection. You've got Caitlin Nicholson, who just won the Warrnambool Women's Classic. Keely Bennett, who won the crit and is probably just going to dust everyone in this group in a sprint should they stay away. But look, thankfully for them, they come back. They get out of that crosswind section, the impetus comes out, and they end up coming back. So we end up seeing a big bunch sprint coming together for the finish here, and you've got both Marr and Bennett in this group. Marr turned the tables here. She managed to get the win over Bennett, and interestingly, Ali Anderson again third. So Marr, she takes 10 bonus seconds. Ali Anderson in third here, so she's third in the crit, third on the road stage here as well. She was my pick heading into this tour as the GC favourite. So she takes 4 bonus seconds for each of those. She's an excellent time trialist. She's the under-23 Australian TT champ. She's an amazing climber as well. So at this point, I was thinking, oh yeah, here we go. I'm going to look like a genius when Ali Anderson pulls this one off. So heading into the stage 3 time trial, 4.3 kilometers, pretty flat. Ali Anderson was a favorite here. And look, she knocked it out of the park. Really great ride from her. So she took the stage win, adds 10 seconds, 10 bonus seconds for that one, plus the time gaps. Sophie Marr, she took third, but she was only 5 seconds back, which is a really good performance from Sophie. So the GC heading into the sort of crucial mountain stage up the Golden Valley was Keely Bennett in the lead. She was 3 seconds ahead of Marr and then 7 seconds ahead of Anderson. Everyone at this stage turned their focus to the GC riders because I don't think anyone was expecting Sophie Marr or Keely Bennett to be able to get up the top of this climb in the front group. So everyone's looking at Ali Anderson, but also the other climbers and GC riders who are close on GC. You've got Alyssa Polides, also Talia Appleton. So everyone was looking at them coming into this stage. So what happened on the mountain stage and how did Marr hang on? Well, to be honest, they nailed this one. Let's have a look at how. I gave them a bit of a roast at the Warrnambool Women's Classic. They let Caitlin Nicholson ride away, and they've come back and said, Angus, you only get to pull that stunt once. So I hope you've got the views you needed on your little Instagram reel, because we're about to put some squads to the sword. Pay attention. The weather was pretty grim for this stage, actually. It rained for almost the entire stage. A break of 9 went up the road, and they actually got so far ahead at one point. It was 5 or 6 minutes. They got so far ahead that the police came to the race organizer and said, hey, if the peloton falls any further back, we're actually going to have to pull them out of the race. So you're going to have to tell those riders to start getting on it and start chasing that gap down. And I think that gave everyone a bit of a kick up the backside. Meridian Blue, they were the ones to start chasing the breakdown for Alyssa Pilates. They used Riley Ackroyd as well in the chase here, who's a really strong climber herself. But they had to get that gap down. Before the climb, if they wanted to have a crack, they needed to make sure that they didn't start with a 5-minute deficit. So they bring that one back. So they hit the bottom of the climb altogether, and Praties immediately went to the front to set pace after they catch the breakaway. They're trying to manage a fine balance here. They need to go quickly enough to drop Keely Bennett because Sophie Marr is the better climber of the two there, but not so fast that they start putting Marr in difficulty and playing into the hands of Ali Anderson, who would be the best climber on paper of the three of them, and you don't want to open the door for her there. And you can see here they're dialed in. They've got 4 of their team up the front setting pace. They managed to shell Keely Bennett pretty early on, so her team's focus switches now and goes to Alyssa Pilates. And as they're going up the climb here, Praties, they were pretty well-oiled machine here. They switched the order as the climb went on. So Talia Appleton right here, she's ready to respond. She's dropped back. She's sitting behind Ali Anderson. So if Anderson attacks, she's right there ready to respond. Sophie Marr has moved further towards the front so that she can get a more smooth ride. She's only got a couple of riders in front of her, so she doesn't have to worry quite as much about surging in the bunch. And she's trusting that her team will manage Ali Anderson if needed, if Ali goes on the attack. I would have loved to have seen at this point someone like a Caitlin Nicholson come to the front, do a big burner to try and get rid of a few of those Praties mountain lead-out riders and expose Marr while also opening the door for Anderson there. Because at the moment, if Anderson tried to attack, she's basically got 5 Praties riders to try and chase her down. And I understand, look, a lot of these Praties riders look pretty comfortable in that front group. I don't think anyone really challenged them or asked the questions of them coming up this climb. And I get that there's a whole squad up there and, that's intimidating. But really, you've got to try because you never know. Half of them might be right on the cusp of going backwards. And unless you actually ask that question, you're never going to find out the answer. We saw one attack towards the top. That was actually from Lauren Bates. Riley Ackroyd is the one who's following. But at this point, they're at about 2 kilometers to go. That sign on the right-hand side, that's 2Ks to go. And no one's really pushed Praties up until this point. So they've got plenty of horsepower to bring this one back. Sophia Salmon's actually popped across and ultimately neutralized that one with relative ease. She looked really good here. She was super strong for the stage. And it makes me wonder what would have happened if she had a bit more leeway. Could she have just ridden away? She looked very comfortable getting across to that front group there. And this is that moment where Ali Anderson really needed to try and step out from the group if she had the legs. Talia Appleton, she ends up chasing that group down. You can see maybe a couple of small cracks in Sophie Marr. She's not sitting right on Ali Anderson's wheel, which is where I would probably park myself if I could. And so I think, look, maybe Ali Anderson didn't have the legs that she needed to launch, which is, I guess, a testament to how strong Praties and also Sophie Marr were to be able to sort of neutralize her there. And also once you get to this point, the final 2 kilometers, the gradient eases off a little bit, sort of softens a bit. You've kind of lost the chance to drop anyone by then. It's going to get significantly harder. You've sort of had 14 kilometers up until this point to do the damage. That final 2Ks really smoothed it out a little bit more. So we end up seeing actually a pretty solid group coming to the line for a mountaintop bunch sprint, which, look, you don't see that every day. The GC was still up for grabs. If Anderson won the stage and took the 10-second time bonus, and then Sophie Marr finished 4th or lower, GC would go to Ali Anderson in the end. But Marr, she was too strong. She took 2nd actually behind a really storming Lauren Bates. Super impressive from her riding as an individual. But here's what Sophie Marr had to say post-stage.
Absolutely. I mean, winning the stage would always be great, but GC was really a high priority as well. I knew where everyone sat with time gaps, and I knew that obviously the time bonuses across the finish line where I had to place to at least win GC. Definitely would have been even better if, win the stage as well, but super happy to pull off GC and 2nd in the stage.
So in the league standings, Marr steps up into the overall league lead ahead of Talia Appleton. I don't think Talia was too pumped to relinquish this lead to Sophie Marr, so I'm sure she's going to come into the next round, the Harbour City GP, pretty fired up, I think. So here's your league overall. You've got Sophie Marr now in the lead. She's on 352 points. Talia Appleton comes down into 2nd place on 278, and then Caitlin Nicholson still sitting there in 252 on 3rd. Ali Anderson stepped up into 5th. Look, she's really keen to try and have a proper crack at trying to win the under-23 classification here, but she's going to have a pretty tough time. Sophie Marr, she's got a pretty big lead. Also, Ali, she missed the first round, the SA Kick It. For that first round, actually, the points were different. They've changed how the points get scored. You got double points for your overall placings and then also your placing in the under 23 classification. They've changed that now. So you can only get your overall points contributing to your under 23 points. You can't double dip anymore. So Ali Anderson, she's actually lost that opportunity. So I think she's going to have a bit of a tricky time trying to get up there. But for us spectators, we've got a really tight battle between Sophie Marr and Talia Appleton. I think the courses are now starting to switch over and favor Sophie Marr a little bit more, especially as we've seen how strong her climbing ability is. But Talia Appleton is a really strong time trialist. And if she can dial that in and sort of get the edge over Sophie Marr for a couple of these TTs that we've got, I know that there's a big one at the Q Tour, for example. It's still very much hangs in the balance. So I'm really looking forward to the end of that one. But that's the Tour of Tasmania for the women. Super exciting event. I'm really looking forward to the Harbour City GP. That's going to be on the 7th to the 9th of March. I'll have a proper breakdown. I'll do a preview before that one. Keep an eye on the Instagram, also on YouTube. Catch you in the next one.